Well, good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone, or good mid morning, or good whatever it is, wherever you're at. It could be afternoon. If you're around the world, it could be evening. So I hope you're all doing fine. That's really not a feeling word. Hope you're all doing really good. Hope you're surviving this another week of the coronavirus. Sure be nice if they could get their stories right. I, for one, am keeping a positive outlook. So just living life and being cautious, but also enjoying my life. Not being dumb, not being. Hey, Lauren, how are you? Hey, I got your text yesterday, so I'll text you back later. I was fishing. Sorry about that. But yeah, I hope you're all doing good, enjoying it. And like I say, this is a good time to get to know your loved ones really well. And you got two choices. You either learn how to get along and love each other in a way you never thought possible, or you just start tearing each other's eyes out. And I don't think anybody wants to do that. I mean, it's not worth the fight. We all need to get along. We all need to show love and happiness and peace to everybody. Um, it's important, especially in these stressful times. It's stressful enough, facing every day and with the uncertainty that we have going on. Hey, Keith, uh, facing the uncertainty of the day as it is, and then if we're not getting along with our loved ones, it makes it even more stressful. So let's at least make one thing good in our life, and that's our relationships with our loved ones, our children, our spouses. There's no reason to be bickering. We're all in this together, okay? We're all going to get through it, and it's going to be in the rear view mirror pretty soon. And life will be back to, well, some say a new normal, but what's normal? It's a setting on a washing machine and a dryer. So we just live one day at a time, take it one moment at a time, one day at a time, and everything should just be honky dory. Okay? I know my son and I yesterday we went down to Imperial, did a little catfishing, something we do every summer, and it was just our first day down there. We didn't get skunked, but we didn't kill them like we have in the past. We each caught a couple, and that was good enough. We just enjoyed the day down there. Nobody was down. Well, I don't want to say nobody. There's a couple people down there, but they were in isolated areas, as we were. So had a great day yesterday, being able to get down there and fish with my son. So I love my family. I love doing stuff with them. So anyways, so let's move right on in. Chapter 12. Chapter 12 of the book is called Forgiveness. Yeah, forgiveness. The subject that Keith, we use live bait. We use catch tilapia or bluegill. We're catching big old catfish, big catfish. So the ones we caught, you saw on Facebook, they were small compared to what we've caught in the past. So, but yeah, we use bluegill or goldfish. So that's what we use. So forgiveness. This is part one of forgiveness, and I used to not like talking about forgiveness. It was like, come on, don't talk to me about forgiveness for God's sake. And I know that, man, doing what I do and talking to the people I talk to, forgiveness is the farthest thing from a lot of people's mind. Now, keeping that in mind, that also a lot of the people that have been abused, God's the farthest thing from their mind. They just can't comprehend how God would allow such trauma to happen in one's life. So, I always say that I understand that. I mean, I was one of them at one point in time, but I had some really good mentors along my journey. And God, the number one thing we have to have in our life, especially if you've got any kind of trauma that you're healing from, you got to have God at the center of your life. Because if you don't, I don't know how you can make it. I really don't, because you have to face some hard stuff. We've been going over it and around our abuse for so many years, and I've always said the only way we can truly heal from our abusive issues, whether it's sexual, physical, emotional, or spiritual, So we got to walk right back in it. But we got to do that with somebody that's been experienced at both the negative side and then walk through it and experience the healing part of it. The big book says you cannot transmit something you do not have. And there's far too many people out there with great intentions. But man, they do a lot of harm because they're trying to help people that have no business helping. So I'm real adamant about that. And, I'll get to a point. There's some people where it's like, hey, until you go see a psychiatrist, I can't help you. There's just certain people it's beyond my call. They're broken, but they're broken in ways that I was when I first got involved in it. So there's a lot that plays into this. And I can tell you right now that the number one key to my true happiness and freedom was forgiveness. Now, that being said, it's a process that doesn't happen overnight. You can't think it's going to happen overnight. Anybody thinks it's just going to happen at the snap of a hand, it's wrong. There's too many triggers. There's too many deep wounds in a survivor's psyche. So I started this chapter with a quote from Steve Maraboli. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the institution, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. That last part, unless you realize the situation is over, you can't move forward. And what happens to survivors, a lot of us, is we stay the memories in our head, and we've been playing the record for so long that we can't. We have a hard time letting it go. All right, and it's like, when it comes to forgiveness, and I used to be one that said, well, you know what, you need to start forgiving yourself. But the reality is this: if you believe that God has forgiven you, and almost everybody that I talk to says they do, and you say you can't forgive yourself, well, there's two things to look at. One, then are you saying you're more powerful and you know more than God? And that sets people back a little bit. But then recently there's a lesson in the freedom, and somewhere in there it says, in our freedom workbook, and somewhere it says something along the lines like, if God has forgiven you, you have no right to forgive yourself. God's already forgiven you. Nobody higher than that can forgive you. So then the question becomes not, why can't you forgive yourself? But the question becomes, what are you holding on to so tightly that you can't let go of? All right? If God's forgiven you, we just got to give it to God. Well, I do, but I take it back. Well, then give it back to him. Quit playing tug of war with him. Give it to him and let him have it. Take it back. Give it back to him. Whatever you got to do, just keep giving it back to God. It's not yours to bear. It's not yours to bear at all. So how many of you have been told, or how many of you have been told or heard these words? Keith, I'm just using your name to use it. It just came to my head. Keith, you just have to forgive, forget, and move on. Man, I heard that so many times, so many different variations of that, from my mother, from my stepfather, from spiritual people, from well-meaning friends, and from misguided therapists. You just need to forgive, forget, and move on. No, those are three words that should never ever be told to a survivor. Never. Now, that being said, if you want true freedom and happiness, then we must get to a place of forgiveness so that we can truly move on from the abuse. But that forgiveness takes time. It takes a whole lot of work. For me, it took mentors that let me speak my piece about how I felt about what happened to me and those that did it. It took mentors and my therapist that allowed me to get mad at God. And the reality is that God didn't do it to us. A lot of people go, well, God does that kind of stuff to us. I want nothing to do with God. Well, the reality is, did God really do it to you? I used to think he did. After all, I was raised in a Christian family, right? So why is this happening to me by a born-again Christian stepfather and mother? Yep, they go to church and everybody thinks they're the cat's meow, and they come home and the abuse starts all over again. But what people don't understand, and it's hard to get a grasp of, is that God gives man free will. It's not God. God's a gentleman, and I never knew that. He's not going to interfere. And I didn't know how to, as a kid, because I was so conflicted in the Christianity that I was growing up in. I didn't know how to reach out and say, God, please stop this. I'm sure if I would have back then, somehow he would have helped me get out of that situation. But then again, I look at the fact too that if I wouldn't have gone through all that, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you all about forgiveness today. I wouldn't have been talking to anybody about the relationships, about anything, because I wouldn't have had the experience that I needed. Heck, I mean, you'd even hear those words on TV shows, movies. You read it in books, you read it in magazines. Everybody need to forgive, forget, and move on. No. Every time I cringed and shouted back in anger and frustration, every time that would happen, I would use these words. Either in my head or out loud, I would say, you have no idea what they did to me. And I hear that from people to me all the time. And while I might not know exactly what they've done to other people, I know how it affected them. I can see it in their actions. And I know what they did to them was evil. And that's understandable. I mean, it's pure evil. It's what it is. Pure evil. I'd also tell them, you'd be angry too. What happened to me happened to you. You'd be drinking too. What happened to me happened to you. Countless times I tell Kathy, if Kathy tried to make me feel better, when I was in a cycle of anger, shame, or depression, I would literally shout at her, don't say a damn thing to me until you've walked in my shoes. I don't want to hear it. And all she was doing was trying to comfort me, right? And thank God for recovery because now she sees me in a kind of a funk. She'll call me out on it in a loving way. She won't call me out on it. She asks me. And it's real simple, and I love the way she does it. She says, am I losing you, Randy? And I go, yeah, I'm kind of struggling right now. And she used to want to try to help me during those times, right? But it didn't work. It made things worse. So now she'll go, am I losing you? Yeah. Is there anything I can do for you? And I said, no, I'll work through it. I know what I got to do. And she says, okay. And so she's just there for me. I don't take it out on her. She doesn't try to fix me, which she can't. She knows she can. The only people capable of fixing ourselves is God and ourselves. We have to do the work. There's no magical, mystical snap of fingers and all of a sudden bubbles are coming out your ears and rainbows are floating all over your head and you're just all of a sudden on cloud nine. It doesn't work that way. I wish it did. I wish it did. But too many people kind of lend the idea that that's exactly what happens if you do certain things, and it's not. What I thought of back then too is that anybody that approached me with this forgiving, forgetting, and moving on idea deserved to have his head torn right off his shoulders, literally. I mean, I said, man, you said it one more time to me, your head's coming off your shoulders. I just was fed up. I don't want to hear it. It doesn't work. First of all, you need to understand, and some of you here probably do, some of you might not, is that you'll never forget. Now, a lot of victims, a lot of survivors, victims, they've repressed these feelings so deep into their psyche that they can't really remember everything. And that's natural. That does happen a lot. But it will be revealed to you in time in different ways. And it's just a matter of if you're willing to look at it rather than turn a blind eye to it and reach out and get help. Okay? Because it will come up. Behaviors that are happening within a household, within a father and a husband and a wife, and they're all, most of them, there's good behaviors. Okay, don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of good that comes out of. You ain't gonna like this one. There's a lot of good that comes out of being abused if you do the work to heal. But a lot of the behaviors is learned behavior. I mean, they watched it growing up. They were abused. They were treated like crap. They were talked to like crap. So that's what they do to their wife and their children. All right. So we'll never forget, and I don't want to forget, because if I forget, then I might go right back to where I was with drugs and alcohol. And two, I want to be here talking to all of you guys, right? And it's not that we sit there and we dwell on it anymore. It's in this place called the amygdala, which is in the center of your brain. It's about the size of an almond, right? And it's the filing cabinet of all your memories, all your emotions, and it'll bring up the stuff out of nowhere. For me, what used to happen if I made a mistake, I'd start beating myself up, because what would happen is that file, that idiot file, as I call it, would start going around until it found that you're a screw up, you're an idiot, that I was told all the time. So there's a lot of beliefs on this, and here's what I'm looking at: is that God made us, God created us, and He created us perfectly, and so that means that amygdala He created, which stores all of our emotions, and these are all proven, right? Well, then the devil also knows us, because he was God's right hand man for a long time, so he knows where to go to get those old memories. They'll go right to that amygdala and start attacking it. So you just got to proclaim it when those memories come up and those old voices come back up. Man, devil, get out of here. You got no authority in my life. Goodbye, adios, amigo. You take your little imps and you all go back to the gates of hell where you belong, because I'm washed in the blood of Jesus. I have to do it quite often. So we'll never forget. Okay? Never forget. And you know what? You might heal and everything's cool and you're going along life. Maybe you do what you have to do for yourself and you get healed and you're living a really good life. Maybe it's 5-10 years down the road and somebody's going to walk into your life, right? They're going to walk into your life and you're going to be able to help them. It'll come out of nowhere. God never wastes. I can't remember what I was going to say, but God never wastes, a moment like that. He's going to use you again to help somebody else. I thought that forgiving meant letting them off the hook. I really did. Admitting that what they did was okay and that I probably even deserved what they did to me. And that's a childhood thing where a lot of children will think, especially physical and emotional abuse, that if I'd have been a better kid, if I'd have been a daughter, a better son, a better student, if I'd have been prettier, if I would have been a better athlete, whatever, Dad wouldn't be doing this to me, right? I thought that forgiveness meant that I was the bad one all along. Again, it goes back to this innate survival skill that we can't be bad because mom and dad can't be bad because mom and dad are bad. That means I have nowhere to go. That means nobody will take care of me. I thought that also forgiveness was intended to make them feel better. And no, matter of fact, I advise do not even go to your perpetrators and tell them that you forgave them, because they can look at you and it can send you in a spiral down a dark rabbit hole you'll never get out of. All they got to do is look at you and say, what are you talking about? I never did none of that to you. So, and a lot of them do. They're not going to. So again, the forgiveness doesn't mean that we wait for an apology from them. The forgiveness is for us. It releases us from the prison that we've been in, prison of our mind that we've been in for so long. It's the key to the last total freedom of the last key to total freedom and happiness. Freedom is an entirely selfish act, which often can make the difference between survival and recovery. If you can't get rid of that resentment, all right, then you're probably just surviving. You're sober. And I mean sober and whatever your drug of choice is. And it could be food, anything from drugs and alcohol to food and anything in between. But the forgiveness will be the one that'll take you down the road of true recovery. Because we hold on to these resentments for years and years and years, and the other person probably doesn't even know we're pissed off at them. Or that, we haven't seen him, like my stepfather. I never saw him again. But yet I let him have rent space in my head every day. The day that I first felt that first sense of what forgiveness could mean for me was the day I walked out of my therapist's office feeling physically lighter, as if decades of anger And resentment had been a literal weight on my shoulders, sinking me deeper into the ground. For 38 years, I plotted my stepfather's assassination on a daily basis. Daily, I fantasized about how I could take him out. I had so much hate and anger for them. Until this day right here. And God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, because he never let Jack walk in my presence after that day. I never did see him again except for on Facebook right before he died. So the day that I forgave, all those thoughts vanished. Right? Now, I talk about him because he's part of the story and he can't help, but I honor him in the way, here's how I honor him today, is I no longer assassinate his character. He was extremely sick. He had his own demons he was fighting. He was a serial pedophile. And these are facts. I know this for a fact. Okay? So that he was sick. It had nothing to do with me. And that's another thing people have a really hard time grasping, and I understand, is that it had nothing to do with me. It was all him. Hurt people, hurt people. But then you hear, but wait, Randy, you have no idea my abuse was different. Well, maybe it was different because we all have different stories. And no two survivors have had the same experience. But what I am aware of is how it affects you in the psyche. And at first, it was what happened to me, and then journeying with people. And then as I work with more and more and more people, I just start talking, and they go, "Yep, that's right, that's right." So I know. I don't really know how they directly feel because I'm not them. So I'll never know exactly how they feel, but I know what they're going through. The metaphorical knives that wounded us in the past may have come in different sizes and shapes, right? But the wounds they left behind are remarkably similar, okay? Remarkably similar. I mean, you sit there and you talk and you listen to enough people one-on-one in intimate settings, and you hear some stories, and it's like the knives, man, they all cut just as deep. They all cut just as deep. Trauma is trauma. Some people say, well, man, I never had it as bad as you, Randy. No, but you had it. You were abused and you had trauma. So your trauma is your trauma. Don't even try to compare it to mine. Okay? You can't. Remember, forgiveness is a process. And that's the hardest part about this. People always want the instant fix, the instant touch, right? They want it now. The easy button. And this kind of work is a lifetime of work. I was fortunate that it probably was about 3 years into my recovery where I hit this forgiveness part. You know, you might simply start forgiving somebody verbally, which is good. Do that. I forgive them. Oh, that son of a gun. And then you get angry again. Okay, fine. And saying the words is not enough. Okay? Saying the words is not enough. There's times when I get angry, and I'll tell Kathy, man, I'm angry right now. She goes, why? I go, because of what happened to me as a kid, because I lost my childhood. And sometimes it really bothers me. I go, I'm not angry at Jack anymore because there's nothing I can do. I'm just angry because I did lose that childhood. It was my childhood was assassinated, right? I just wish I could have it back. But I'm not angry at Jack. Believe it or not, I'm not, And oftentimes, what we do is we'll say words because we think they are what other people want to hear from us. Speak your truth. One of my mentors told me, Ray, always speak your truth. Don't talk or don't say what you think people want to hear. Speak your truth because it's only your truth that matters. Your truth is the only thing that matters, and nobody can ever take that truth away from you again. It was robbed from me for many years as a kid. We also sometimes believe that the words, I forgive you, express the right or spiritual thing to do. Are you doing it just to appease somebody, or do you really mean it? Think about it. Okay. Take your time. Really you got to get in touch with your feelings. You got to get in touch with that deep inner part of you that's angry. You got to talk to somebody that will listen to you and understand you and can walk you through the process. I had great mentors, great phenomenal mentors. I mean, from my recovery mentors and my therapist, and those are the ones that really helped me. And that's how I mentor everybody that I work with today. I learn, I listen, right? Verbal forgiveness can be a step in the right direction, but it's not true forgiveness. It won't free you from the pain you carry inside. I want you to hear that. You'll know if you've truly forgiven somebody. If you're still carrying around that pain, you haven't truly forgiven somebody. It's a verbal. I remember talking to a lady in Bible school, Bible college, and she was talking about how she'd forgiven somebody. And we talked about this for about a month. And I wasn't provoking it. She would come to me and we would talk. And the last time we talked, she looked at me. She goes, Randy, I don't think I have forgiven him. I go, well, now why would you say that? She goes, because I'm still mad and angry and pissed off at him. I still carry around resentments. I go, no, then you haven't forgiven him. But she comes to that own conclusion just by us talking over a month, right? If you do the work it takes to truly forgive, you must do it because it will make you whole and happy, not because it's the right thing to do. Okay? You've got to do it for you. Well, I did it because it's the right thing to do, and now I'm pissed off at the guy, and I'm madder than I've ever been at him. And don't do it for the right thing to do. Do it because you want to do it because you want to be whole and you want to be happy. Okay. I'll say it again. For me, the true peace was through the fierce grace of forgiveness. The alternative to living in a state that I call unforgiveness. So living in that fierce grace of forgiveness was much better than the alternative of living in a state that I call unforgiveness. So we're going to talk about that next week, what unforgiveness is, what it isn't. So we'll stop there for today. So that's just the introduction to it. So look at you guys. Just pray about all this. If you're struggling with forgiving, what I did in my recovery, is I started off with something small, something easy. Don't dive into this monstrosity of a forgiveness thing. You got if it's a pedophile, right? Just remember, you don't have to go to them. You don't have a part in what happened to you. But in your heart, between you, your mentor, and God, you need to forgive that perpetrator. Okay, but don't start there. Start with something small. I mean, find something small. If you're doing inventory that you need to forgive for that small thing, and then do that. Feel comfortable. Get to you feel comfortable. Okay. Remember, when they're talking about a ninth step and making amends, which is basically what forgiveness is, and if you're going to go to people, it says, except when to do so would injure them or others. And you are others. Okay? You are others. You got to look at that. And hopefully that if you're doing this kind of work, you're working with a mentor and not just going on your own doing some crazy stuff, because I've seen a lot of harm done by people trying to do it themselves and rush through all this stuff. That's what the mentors are there for. They walk you through. It's the 8th and 9th step in recovery. You don't have to be in recovery to do it, but you sit down and you talk with a mentor about ways to do it. Okay. So next week, like I say, we'll stay on forgiveness part 2. What forgiveness is not. Okay. Guys, remember my life coaching. I'm working really hard on getting this off the ground. So if you know anybody that's struggling with life, with marriage, addictions, abuse, inner healing, or spirituality, spiritual healing, whatever it might be, That's what I'm here for. It's what it's what I do for a living, and I really need to get some clients booked up. I like to have nonstop clients if I can. Kathy and I, we do marriage counseling. We just married our sixth couple this week. I think it was our sixth couple this week. They were supposed to get married on March 28th in Newport Beach, and because of the coronavirus, they couldn't. She was crushed. Kathy and I said, "Don't worry, we'll get you through all this. We'll do marriage counseling, and we'll marry you whenever you want to marry. We can marry right in your backyard, our backyard, living room, whatever you want to do. We'll get you married, and then when this coronavirus thing lifts, then you can have your big celebration." And actually, there's a second couple that we've done that with that are going to have the big celebration. So we do marriage counseling. We're SYMBIS certified facilitator, and I can tell you that everybody that has done the SYMBIS work with us, it's been mind blowing for them. It's really opened their eyes, and it's 99.9% accurate on the couples. It's not a psychological test. It's more of a life test, how you see things differently or the same in life. It's really good. It's really worth it. So, hey, anybody that's struggling with, even if it's a couple or marriage is struggling, just let me know. Reach out to us. You can visit my website, changeyourlifestorynow.com, changeyourlifestorynow.com. And you can check out what we do there, okay? Also with addictions, with abuse, inner healing, and spirituality, they kind of the last four all fall under one thing. They're all could be inclusive of what's going on in a person's life, okay? So what are you waiting for? Everybody's got hurts, habits, and hang-ups. Everybody's got hurts, habits, and hang-ups, so come on out and see us, okay? Also, if you get my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, on Amazon, it's paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. You can also get 30-Day Devotional to Wholeness and the 7-Day Challenge Workbook to my book. It's also available on Amazon. Those are just in paperback, I believe, yeah. And Kindle. Visit our website, courageoushealers.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We could really use help. I hate that word. We're working on growing the foundation. We can't do this alone. We're working on raising funds for it. If anybody out there knows of a grant writer that I can at least sit down and talk with, just let me know. There's been one mentioned a couple of times, and I won't use her name, but I'm looking for somebody that's really interested in helping out a nonprofit organization. It's a pioneering organization. We definitely could use some help. If you want to donate to the foundation, just go to the website, courageoushealers.org. You can click on the donate now button. Brother, if you can donate $5, you can set up for a monthly donation, once a month donation, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever you can donate, we appreciate 100%. Okay. And if you donate more than $60, I will send you a signed copy of my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, and a copy of my 30-Day Devotional to Wholeness. We have our workshops coming up. We've already completed the communication workshop, which we're talking about doing another one via webinar. And if need be, we'll work on these other ones on webinar too. But we're going to be June 13th. Will be the Journey to You. It's going to be rather a deep dive into our generational behaviors. And then on September 12th, we're going to do Secrets in Silence. And then on December 5th, right before Christmas, we got one on forgiveness. I'll put the link to these workshops in the comment box so you can go and check them out if you like. If in the event that we can't do them because of the coronavirus shutdown, I'm not going to cancel them. So I'll give you the option of 2 things. We'll either refund you your money or we can just hold on to it until we get the workshops going. Okay. Well, with that, everybody have a great week. And remember that if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does, but more importantly, God does. Be blessed, everybody. Have a super good week. Love you all.